Hello everybody, and welcome to Automation. This is a game that is currently in development. I've been following it for a while now. It's still in beta, and they've only gotten part of it out, but a major update just came out to it, and I grew impatient and just wanted to show it to you, because I really want these guys to start getting more attention. They do have this game on the Steam Greenlight, which they've got a pretty decent support there, but they're not quite into that threshold where they might get added. And I really do think they're doing something great here, so I hope that they can get some positive publicity from this and hopefully have success in the future, because I do want to see this game get completed. So what is Automation? Pretty much exactly what it says there. It's a car company tycoon game. So they're encapsulating the spirit of, say, a Roller Coaster Tycoon or those kind of games, but based around a car company. But it's not done in a way that's disconnected from the actual workings of it. Like most tycoon games, I find they kind of dumb it down and don't get very technical because they think, oh, well, the general public's not going to like that if it's super technical. These guys are really diving deep into the technical aspect of it, and they've started with the engines and have dedicated a year now, I think. I don't know the actual development time, but a lot of time into just the engine part of this game, and that's only a small portion of what they want to do. They want to have a car designer, engine designer, suspension designer, actual car company designer before they even start to make the tycoon part of the game, where you have to start a car company. And I think that kind of dedication to the detail in this engine programming really shows the kind of quality game they want to make. So for today, what I'm going to do is just go through a couple of what the engine scenarios are that are in the game as of now. I have the pre-order version of the game, so I do have access to all of the tutorials. If you get the demo, you can do just the inline 4. I highly suggest just getting the demo and trying it out. You'll probably be so fascinated with it if you like anything to do with cars that you're gonna go ahead and pre-order and give these guys your money. I know it didn't take me long to decide, yep, these guys deserve my money. So I've done all of the inline 4 and the V8 tutorials already, but they've added these general ones that I have not done. The newest update introduced turbos, which kind of spoiled the best lesson I think to do in this was the new turbo hype virus lesson. So with the turbos added, I don't think they have a whole lot of scenarios with them yet. But I'm seeing at least a couple more. But that's okay, we can start out with something that's a little simpler, and that'll give you a good introduction to the game. I'm not going to do a full-on Let's Play of this yet, or a full-on series, but I do just want to show a couple lessons and maybe mess around with the sandbox a little bit, and just try and get some interest in the game, because like I said, I think if I show some people what it is and just get the word out about it, I'll be doing these guys a favor. For the sake of this, we're going to start out with this Millennium crash scenario. I think a lot of these are user-made scenarios or user suggestions, so they're not completely polished as of now, but the story about this one is that it's the year 2000 and you lost all your research files, so you've got to start from scratch. The year 2000 is relevant because they model it in the way that you only have the technology that would be available in the year 2000. Here's the technical specifications, which is your goal basically. You have to build an engine that makes 174 horsepower, that can last longer than 50,000 kilometers, the economy of the engine, the weight of the engine, and the cost. So if we go in here, see that you get scored based on those factors and how much you exceed them. And then this is the engine designing room. So if we look around here, you can see there's the dyno setup and your jig that your engine will be placed on. For this lesson, there's not any restrictions on if you can use an inline 4, an inline 6, or V8. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick, I think I'm gonna pick, let's see, 174 horsepower. But we gotta stay pretty light, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick an inline 6 for this one. Here you have the block material, so you can choose between cast iron, which is heavy but cheap, aluminum, lighter, more expensive, or aluminum silicone, which is even lighter but way more expensive. Seeing that we have a weight restriction for this one, and 418 pounds is not a whole lot, so I'm going to go ahead and say aluminum for this one, because I don't think I can make an engine within the cost restriction in aluminum silicone. There's no engine size restriction in this one, which is a typical restriction you have is, you have to build it within a certain capacity. But you're kind of limited in your weight, so I think we're gonna shoot for maybe about 2.5 liters. And you can adjust the bore and the stroke exactly, and it's exactly what you think. It's you're changing the actual bore and stroke of the engine. I tend to like the engines to have a little bit of a short stroke. I find that it's easier that way to let them rev out. You don't have to get as expensive on the crank and stuff, as you'll see soon. See, that looks good there. So here you start with your bottom end options. So we've got cast iron, forged steel, billet steel. And what you'll see is it's going to give you red to green, as in red's bad, green's good. And what that means is the torque load that this part can handle. Now, this engine's only going to produce 174 horsepower. Odds are we're not going to be making a whole bunch more torque than that. So we can go with the cheapest one. And it can withstand, an average amount of torque. That'd be just fine. There's your cost and your weight for that part. Next up is your connecting rods. Cast is the lowest option. So that's just normal cast steel connecting rod, nothing fancy about it. That is just a normal cast connecting rod, nothing fancy about it. Here you have a RPM restriction, so it's a pretty low RPM part. Very low torque. Again, we're probably dealing with very low torque. But I don't like boxing myself in with a low RPM, so I'm going to go up to... Well, maybe I'm not, because that's going to require... See, this requires 4 torques. This is something I think they're going to add into the game soon. Basically what that means is this slider here, you'll need... I think eventually you're going to need a tech pool to do something like this, or you will, in the Tycoon, you will need a forge to make this. For this one, we're going to go with just a normal cast. Pistons, same deal. You got all sorts of different options, from super lightweight ones that will give you very high efficiency to very strong ones and forged. But for this case, we're just going to go with regular old cast. So this ladder here, this is quality of the product. The products you're using. If you go for a higher quality, you get a better lifespan, which we do need a good lifespan. But you're going to pay for it. In this case, I'm going to go with 3. And, I mean, this is all stuff we can adjust in the future once we see how it performs. So you can see there's our engine coming together. But now we gotta put a head on this thing. This one's in the year 2000. I would expect an engine of modern times to have at least overhead cam, if not dual overhead cam. And for the restrictions we have, let me see. I think off the bat we're just gonna try single overhead cam. I'm gonna go with 3 valves per cylinder. And aluminum once again. Now we're getting into the guts of it back again. So this is the compression ratio. You can see you get a little slider here that gives you, you know, if you don't know how to judge your compression ratios, it gives you where you should be right off the bat, that normal range. I'm going to run this one at about 8.0 because we have to deal with, we are dealing with premium unleaded, so let me go back up a little bit. Up next is the cam profile, which is, cam profile is a little bit dumbed down, but it has to be because nobody wants to sit here and try and do the math of cam profiles in the game. So it gives you a pretty good little range here, 0 to 100, full race versus full economy or low. And just it means that you're getting a low profile or a high profile, or a high lift or low lift. For this case, we're gonna keep that normal range to start. Here you have the option to add VVT or VVL. We only have VVT available. I think that's because we're in a single overhead cam, or maybe it's the year. No, it's probably the single overhead cam. But we're just gonna stick with VVT for now. It's fairly cheap and fairly light, and it gives you a little bit more of a broad power band. Alrighty, so now we can start to put this engine all together, and here's where you get a little bit of a design aspect to it. For this case, because it's a single overhead cam, there's only one valve cover or rocker cover to choose from, but you can change the color on it. I'd like to go for this one. I think I'm going to stick with a black one. It's classy looking. Okay, so now here's where it gets fun. 174 horsepower. We get to choose if we want to go NA or turbo. For that power band, I'm thinking we're going to go NA for now, but we need to check and see if we're within our weight. If we end up having to go with a smaller engine, we may have to backtrack and try the turbo out. But it's cool that they're giving you the option to go either way, not forcing you into one or the other. Oh, I forgot to check this. I'm going to go up a bit on the quality. And for this, we're not using turbo, so we don't have to worry about it now. So here we are in the fuel and air intake part of the engine designer. We could go with a good old carburetor, but it's the year 2000. Who's going to use a carburetor, really? So injection, and you have a good selection of options. You can go with mechanical, single point EFI, multi-point EFI, and direct injection. I think for this era, we're probably looking at a multi-point. Streetcar kind of engine here, so just a single intake will do. We'll put a standard airbox on it for now. And we get to use premium unleaded. Okay, now we got the fuel mixture, which I'm going to put right about in the middle for now because that's something you really fine-tune as you go, as well as the ignition timing. But here you have the option to change the RPM limiter, and I think we're going to bump this up a little, well, only a little bit because we have a pretty weak bottom end. And last but not least, the exhaust. Got a pretty wide budget. It's not too bad. So I'm gonna go with a tubular set of headers. Give you a little bit better power, good airflow, but not too noisy. Although we don't have a noise restraint, which is nice. Single exhaust. We don't need muffler bypass. We need to make at least 174 horsepower, so a 2-inch or 2 1/4 would be fine. No emissions. No emissions regulation for this one, so we can just go with no cat. Although I believe a good catalytic converter will improve your lifespan, so we may come back to that. Run this baby wide open for now, just to meet the requirements. Obviously it wouldn't be that way in a car. Here we go for the first test. Now you got two options here. You can do test mode, and you can do the actual dyno test. I'd like to start out here on the bench where you can just kind of control the throttle, and it gives you a nice little, this is new for this version, I think it's a great addition. It gives you an overview on how the independent parts are doing. So if we start up here, see everything's working fine. You can see the engine is actually modeled and running as you would expect it to. And not only that, this is where it gets cool. You can start stripping it down and actually looking at the individual parts working. So you can see the valve train going. Take it down a bit further. You can actually see the valves going and the pistons going up and down. There's the combustion happening at top dead center, so it's actually modeled. And there's the whole kit and caboodle working. When I first started playing this, I would just stare at this. That was cool enough for me to want it. Okay, so now let's run this thing through its paces. You can see we got a little power torque meter over here to show you a roundabout, a knock light so you know if the engine's got knock. Oil pressure gives you a good indication of if something's going wrong or not. We won't be too interested in the boost right now because obviously non-turbo or wastegate. And here's the tech, and the red line is your red line. Dude, let's run it up. So nothing showing that it's having any problems over here, which is a good sign. Looks like we might be falling short of our power goal. But we're close, 160 is pretty close. We'll go ahead and stop that and go over to the regular dyno test. And it looks like we are way under cost, only $1,300. Weight, or pretty far under weight too, so if this is close, then we might be headed in the right direction. So let's go ahead and start the actual dyno test, and this one's automated, so it'll do it for you. See the live dyno chart over here, the efficiency meter. Nice straight power band. Let's get our results. Okay, so 156 horsepower. Again, we're a little short of our needed 174. And our economy is a little bad. Let's see, we are at 0.92 pounds per hour. And we needed 0.6, so we gotta get this thing a lot more efficient. And make more power. But there is ways to do that. How am I gonna start? Let's start by giving it some timing, because I'm seeing here that we're only using 84 of our available octane, which is 95, so we got quite a bit of room to give towards the compression ratio and towards timing. So I'm going to start with the timing. And we'll see how it improves. So everything here that is in green means it improved. If it's in red, it obviously got worse. Which I was expecting the fuel octane or run on knock to get worse. Yellow means no change. So we improved the economy by quite a bit. A little bit of power. Let's see if we can crank up this compression a little bit. Maybe give us that power boost we need without going too far and getting knock. So there's a 4 horsepower bump right there, you can see it. And a little bump in the efficiency as well, the economy. So I'm going to do, if I can find the right one, a little bit more timing. I think I'm going to not mess with that too much. Let's see, up to 88, so we got quite a bit of room to go up in compression here. Because of that, I'm going to give it a little bit more recam profile. See, they kind of hurt the bottom end, but helped the top a lot. Really let it open up at the top. Okay, so we got our power. Did hurt the economy, and a more aggressive cam profile will do that. So let's see what we can do to maybe improve the economy. We still got some room here in our fuel, in our octane. So let's try and lean it back a little bit. A little bit, that was actually a big swing. Down to 0.76. That's a pretty healthy little improvement. You can see that our octane's now up to 93.6. We still got a little bit left, but not a whole lot. So what if we come back a little bit on the cam? Because we got a little power to work with. Not a whole lot, but a little. Try it again. Did gain our missions, not quite enough. Okay, so I've been trying some things, and I noticed we got a ton of money left, so I want to try something. Let's try and do some direct injection. So it raises our price up a lot, but I think that should improve our economy a ton. Oop, that got us really close. Really close. Do some more fine adjust. Alright, I have a good feeling about this one. Power's coming up nicely. 20. Oh, not quite. Now what that direct injection did was actually lowered our run on knock even more because the fuel delivery is so much better that way. So I just took a lot more fuel away from it in hopes to improve the economy but keep our power. There we go. Oh, straight to silver. That's a rarity for me. So that's it. That's a full scenario lesson in the game. You could keep going and improve it, make it better. Keep on going until you get up to platinum level. What's really cool about that is there's so many different ways I could have gone. I could have gone V8, inline 4 with a turbo, so many different ways, and to get the same result. And that's the kind of openness to it that you just don't see in most Tycoon games, or any game really. They just kind of put you in a box and say, hey, this is what you have to do. You just have to sit there long enough and grind away at it till you figure out that that's the way you're supposed to do it. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Again, this is probably not going to be a series, at least not for now, but I am going to do a couple more videos to further show the game and definitely get into the V8s and the turbos and maybe do some fun with the engine sandbox and make some crazy motors. But until then, thanks for watching. Please do check out the game. Provided a link in the description to go download it. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.